So right now I'm working in earthenware clay, and so is Dax. Say hello, Dax.
Hello.
And we are working on the smaller pieces for the mobile. We have these cutters
Mama,
from Play-Doh,
Mama.
and I've used that and I've cut some out. Some of them I'm going to hang them separate from each other and just kind of let them dangle, and then others I've actually connected the back side and you can just see the lines there. So I'm just trying to play around with it. I can also make, and what I would really like to see in yours is to be able to make some additional cuts. Oops, that did not come out straight, but just to kind of have it a little bit of what we call a low relief, so it's not all completely flat. You can use all kinds of tools to do that. You could even go back and use plants, like when you made the impression of the plants, or even your fingerprints or whatever, but just to kind of give it a little bit of a relief. And if you're not familiar with the word relief, relief is a sculpture that usually hangs from a wall, or it could be something as low as like a coin, and you can feel the raised area on a coin. Sculptures that are freestanding are ones that don't have to depend on something, and you walk around them. So anyway, so I've got some pieces cut out. Another option is to either print from your computer a picture or letters, and what I have is I sketched out a feather, and so what I'm going to do now is cut around it cut around it using the clay. I'm using an X-Acto knife to cut into it. So it's kind of hard to do while I'm holding the phone. So now another option, if you don't have an X-Acto knife, would be to use a needle tool. Let me see where I have my needle tool. Like this. Now I tried using this yesterday a little bit with the paper clay. I don't think it does as well. And I will have a separate video to talk about paper clay for those of you. Now it's just not as clean a cut as using a small blade like this. So anyway, I just want you to see that you can be really creative. When you go to make your holes, if you have like a small nail, those work really well. Just remember, in the kiln, hopefully we'll get to fire these. In the kiln, it shrinks, and so you need to have enough room to run thread through it. In a separate video, I'll talk about thread options, and then either using a dowel rod, or you can find, like we have some really nice limbs. I have a saw. I'm gonna gently saw off a limb and use it with my mobile. Okay, so I made some more pieces. I tried using some different rollers that we had, actually from the Kids Play-Doh set. So I have some that have textures, and then others do not have any texture, and then some are from cuts. So you can see I have some variety here. Here is my feather. I kind of rushed it. I'm not too happy with it, but I wanted you to see you could control what kind of shapes if you don't want to use some sort of cookie cutter or something like that. Okay, so the funny part, I guess not so funny, is ideally these would go through the kiln before I would use any string. So they have to air dry. Again, I do reassure you, when we can come back to campus, I would very much like to fire your pieces. So do take care of them if you're interested in having them fired. So for the purpose of, for us though, I think we could try, I know I'm going to, once this has hardened, you could either use like an embroidery thread or yarn. I also have some fishing line. That's my maiden name. I've had it for a very long time. That you could string through your hole. Again, I used a nail to make the holes. Now as far as what to hang with, this I actually found in the backyard, and my husband, while I was working on something else, he just cut the end of it for me, on both ends. I could drill a hole, because I do have a great drill. It could do little teeny tiny holes to put the string through. If you don't, you could either cut into the wood and then make the string fit through that cut to control its movement, or you could just wrap the string around it. If you do use natural wood, I would suggest taking some sandpaper to it and sanding it down. You may even want to stain it or paint it, or just leave it with a more natural look. Or you could use a dowel rod. This is from Lowe's, and you would want to sand its ends too. So either of these would be great for hanging your pieces.